What is up everyone, I'm back again with another video. Today is going to be my top 5 most surprising movies of 2022 and my top 5 most disappointing movies of 2022. Now I was going to do these in separate videos, but seeing as there is only 5 of each one, I thought why not, let's just merge them together. Now I am going to start with my top 5 most surprising films, so we'll just get into them first. Now, if you want to see my top 5 disappointing and you're not bothered about the surprising, I'll leave a little timestamp down below to where my top 5 most disappointing starts. So let's just get into it now with 5th on this list. No honourable mentions in these 2 categories. Number 5 is going to be Halloween Ends. And if you hated this movie, you're probably not going to like what I'm about to say, but Halloween 2018 wasn't really a film that I loved when I first watched it. That has kind of changed a little bit on rewatch. I do appreciate it a little bit more. And then Halloween Kills came along and I kind of hated that movie when I went to see it. Again, that has changed a little bit on rewatch. I rewatched both of these movies leading up to Halloween Ends. But I still don't think Halloween Kills is a great film any means whatsoever. So I had no hope that part 3 of David Gordon Green's reinvented trilogy, if you like, and I kind of loved the direction he went in here. Now, bear in mind, I did watch the entire Halloween franchise leading up to this film, and when they were giving me something a little bit different, I kind of seemed to enjoy them films, because a lot of these films just do the same thing. Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 2018, they're all virtually the same film. So when something like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is thrown at me, or Halloween Ends, I kind of appreciated the difference in the story path. When this film opened with the first 10 minutes and there was a death that didn't involve Michael Myers, I was kind of like, oh, where's this movie going here? And I was just intrigued even more as it went on. I thought that the main character of Corey was a very welcome addition. I kind of can agree that his arc wasn't great, because you're kind of like, what's the point? But I thought the main actor who played him there done such a good job. Rohan Campbell, I believe his name is. And I know Michael Myers is kind of missing in this film for large portions, but the whole story and the evil that's taken over the town, and all these people are just down because of all these killings that have happened involving Michael Myers over the years, I thought it worked quite well for me, actually. And I know I'm on an island with some people here who hated this movie, but it is definitely one of the most controversial films of the year. But for me, it was such a big surprise. 1, because I really enjoyed it a lot more than Halloween Kills, and 2, for the story direction it went in. Didn't see that coming in a million years, even when I saw the trailers and stuff. So, number 5 is Halloween Ends. Number 4 is going to be Marry Me. Now, I see the trailer for this and I was kind of like, yeah, that could be fun. It could just be this generic comedy movie, but the concept seems very, very silly. A woman who ditches her boyfriend after she finds out he's been cheating on stage, these 2 celebrities, and she just picks someone from the crowd who's got a sign saying "Marry Me" as a joke, and she says, yeah, I'll marry you, and they marry on stage. I was like, that is, a silly concept, but it could be fun. But you know what? I thought this one really did pull at the heartstrings. I really liked the chemistry between Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. They kind of made it believable that these 2 were a little bit of a match, and it wasn't just a dud for the cameras and social media within the movie. They kind of, made a silly concept more of a believable one, and really streamlined the movie to make it balanced and not just a stupid gimmick. And I kind of rooted for both of them. So even Owen Wilson in the film is kind of thinking that it's kind of ridiculous. He's agreeing with the audience. But as the runtime goes on, you kind of believe in both of them. I thought this was a solid film. It was way better than it had any right to be. And I got a kick out of it. So number 4 is Marry Me. Number 3 is going to be Black Crab. Now, I've got a little bit of a list on my Letterboxd there of movies to watch from that year, in this case being 2022. And Black Crab was always at the top of that list because I put it off for so long. I kept looking at it going, oh, that just looks like a boring, dull Netflix movie. But in the end, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to watch this damn thing. I'm sick of looking at it on my list, and I was actually quite blown away by how good this movie was. Noomi Rapace is an actress I really do like. I thought she was excellent in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy there. And she was great in this as well. Now, this is kind of about her and this team who have to get from one location to another in order to stop war, basically, and to save the world, if you like. But they're sort of on these skates going across a bunch of ice into dangerous territory, but they're trying to do it behind the enemy's back and get round without being seen. But they're going into dangerous locations and stuff. The ice could break, and it really does give you a sense of unease and put you on edge for a lot of the film. The film is very dark and bleak, but it works for what it's going for. You kind of latch on to the main bunch of 5 or 6 characters that we have here, and you root for them in the end. This film, I after going into it thinking it was just going to be a generic Netflix film, I think it ended up in my top 20 of the year. Thought it was awesome. Some really great action scenes, gun fights and stuff like that. And, I don't think this movie gets talked about enough, because I thought it was one of the best of the year. So number 3 is Black Crab. Number 2 is going to be Where the Crawdads Sing. Now, quick story about this one. I thought when I went to cinema to watch this that I was going to see a movie called The Forgiven with Ralph Fiennes and Jessica Chastain. I'd seen the trailer for that, and just some weird reason attached Where the Crawdads Sings to the title of that film. I've never done that in my life, and I don't know how I got it so mixed up. And I went into Where the Crawdads Sings without any knowledge of it whatsoever. I hadn't seen a trailer, I hadn't seen an image. So when this movie was about 10 minutes in, I thought, yeah, this isn't The Forgiven starring Jessica Chastain and Ralph Fiennes. I know it's not. It was all set in the Deep South, which is a location I always enjoy in movies. Just think it's an interesting place to film and get a visual look about it, but also it always involves very sinister characters, and this one did have 1 or 2 in there. This is about Daisy Edgar Jones, who is kind of a loner, and she lives by the swamp basically, and she's just kind of detached from the entire town. She just does her own thing and keeps herself to herself. She's been let down with love a few times, and this guy is murdered in the town, and all the residents think she has done it, and she goes on trial for it. But you kind of don't know which way it's going, whether she's done this thing, whether she's not. She seems like such an innocent person, and the movie throws a lot of twists and turns along the way. It goes back from the courtroom dramas of the film and to her life beforehand. It kind of builds up the years of what she's been getting up to, how she was involved with this murder victim and stuff. And it was just a very interesting film. I came out of it and couldn't stop talking about it with my friend who I went to see it with. We just had such a great time with it. I was kind of glad that I went to see this instead of The Forgiven. I mean, I still haven't seen The Forgiven yet, funnily enough, but I really appreciated how good this movie was. Just a really solid story with a brilliant ending as well. So number 2 is Where the Crawdads Sing. Number 1, though, is going to be Top Gun Maverick, a film that I don't think had any right to be as good as it was. On paper, basically. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the first Top Gun movie. I thought it was okay. I rewatched it closer to the time and still thought it was okay. It did grow on me a little bit. But after seeing Top Gun Maverick, I just couldn't have imagined how good this movie was going to be. And it absolutely blew me away. I went to see this in iSense, and it was just like an out-of-body experience at times. Tom Cruise is someone I've really latched onto in recent years after watching Mission Impossible, Fallout, and Rogue Nation. I just thought he was incredible in their movies. He was an actor I didn't really care for too much, but now I just can't wait to see his next film, Mission Impossible 7, after seeing Top Gun Maverick as well. him doing all his own stunts and really flying these fighter jets just says to me how dedicated he is. The whole visual look of this movie was stunning, no CGI or anything. I believe Tom Cruise didn't want to go that route, or he wasn't going to do the film, and credit to him. And I'm really happy that it just smashed all these box office records. I mean, I don't think it quite knew it was going to make that much at the box office, but I'm happy to see that. It's such a great legacy sequel that, in my opinion, can go down now as one of them sequels that is better than the original. I just love how Tom Cruise has got to teach all these students the way of Tokyo. He's got like 3 weeks to get them into shape and get them fighting on all cylinders. But this dangerous mission that's about to happen, which seems impossible, kind of touches on little Mission Impossible a little bit there with what they've got to do in the final act. Final 40 minutes is incredible. So for me, this was such a solid movie from start to finish. I loved it. But it was just slightly on my radar, and it became one of my favourite films of the entire year. So number 1 for my most surprising films is Top Gun Maverick. Okay, we're going to get on to the top 5 disappointing movies. Now, before I do, don't forget to leave your comments down below about my top 5 surprising. What are your top 5 most surprising movies of the year? Do you agree with my list? Let me know, and I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. Let's just get into the top 5 most disappointing movies of the year now. And starting off, of course, with number 5. Number 5 is going to be Death on the Nile. Now, I wasn't expecting this movie to be anything mind-blowing or anything like that, but I really did enjoy Murder on the Orient Express, and I'm a sucker for murder mystery movies. And when I seen the trailer for this, I thought, you know what, that looks really well shot. You got a good cast in there with Gal Gadot and Kenneth Branagh, of course, reprising his role as Hercule Poirot. Hope I'm pronouncing that one correctly. But honestly, this movie was just so dull and forgettable and boring, and I think boring films can sometimes be worse than bad movies, because at least with bad movies you got something to talk about. But this film just dragged. I mean, the first half an hour doesn't have to be that long before they get on the cruise ship and stuff, or filmed in Egypt, and it just didn't have to be there. It could have been cut easily 20 minutes, half an hour. Kenneth Branagh was such an unlikable character in this one. After liking him so much in Murder on the Orient Express, in this movie, just seemed up his own arse. And the character even says to him, I've never met someone who's up their own arse so much. And I was like, yep, I agree. He's really pissing me off in this film. I just thought it was just such a forgettable movie, and the murder at the end, the mystery, and who done it, I guessed it about half an hour in. I seen it coming, and that is always a bad sign when you've got a murder mystery movie on your hands. So number 5 is Death on the Nile. Number 4 is going to be Hocus Pocus 2. I remember there was all fake posters for this going around Facebook for the last 5 years or something, and when I announced that it was happening, I was kind of excited, because Hocus Pocus is a film I've grew up with. I got so much nostalgia for that film. So when this was getting a sequel, I was like, yeah, I'm hyped for this. 3 main witches were reprising them roles, and I was just like, yeah, give me it. And then I started to hear that it was coming straight to Disney Plus, not a cinema release, and I was like, oh really? Because they could have made so much money with this. I think a lot of people are anticipating a sequel, but it kind of felt like to me that they had no faith in what they were doing. They were just going to dump it on Disney Plus there, and it was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, this is a watchable film. I didn't hate it or anything. I don't dislike all these movies. It's just, you expect a little bit more, especially when you've got so much nostalgia for the first film. Now, the Three Witches' chemistry was on point here. You know, I thought they done well to get back into the role, and they were quite funny, but everything else that came with it, the story, the main set of characters, and just the magic wasn't there. It was just a very, very dull sequel. It opened up quite well, where it showed the Sanderson sisters as kids and how they became to get this little coven, but the story tries to work the new characters around that little coven and stuff, and it didn't quite hit for me. And the last final act kind of dragged and was just really boring as well. So number 4, I'm afraid, is Hocus Pocus 2. Not the legacy sequel I was after, unfortunately. Number 3 is going to be Lightyear. Now, from the main studio, Pixar, who brought us 4 great Toy Story films, and they were bringing us a spin-off about Buzz Lightyear, and the film opens up and goes, one day a kid called Andy got his favourite toy based on a movie. This is that movie. I thought, oh, so that's what they're going to do. It's going to show the film that Andy was into as a kid. Good idea. But this film just felt very, very flat and just had nothing going for it. It was just felt such a generic Disney movie. I was just so bored with it. It tried to be Interstellar in animation form. The side characters were just very, very forgettable. Buzz himself wasn't great. And I just thought this film didn't have much to say. It was just a blah movie. And one of the worst Pixar films, I think, that they've done. I mean, again, it's a watchable film, but I watched Strange World the other day, and it kind of felt like that. Just didn't have much to say, and just very, very generic. There's not much more else to say about it, because I think Disney and even Pixar in general now are just following the same story path and the same formula. I think they need to switch it up a bit. These movies, including this one, are just very, very predictable at times. You know the path it's going on, and it does that exactly. Just not on the level of the Toy Story films at all. So number 3 is Lightyear. Number 2 is going to be Jurassic World Dominion, or should we call it Jurassic World Locust Planet? I mean, look, after the Jurassic World being such a good movie and Fallen Kingdom being a bit of a dud, I definitely thought that was going to be the filler film, and it had a great setup for this movie with the dinosaurs running around the city and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, this could definitely work. All the legacy characters were coming back, Sam Neill in there and stuff, Laura Dern, they were all back, but this movie just dragged so much. It was a 2-hour film, but I thought it was nearly over, and I looked at my phone and we were only an hour in. I was like, wow, there's still another hour to go. Oh my God, this film is not well paced at all. It was just a pathetic attempt at a Jurassic World movie, especially involving all these locusts and stuff. I mean, that just didn't work for me whatsoever. There were some cool moments like the Velociraptor chase, which is probably one of my favourite movie moments of the year, actually. And a cool little dinosaur fight involving these 3 dinosaurs toward the end. But the legacy characters brought nothing to the table. I thought they would have been the key and the main tool to use into making this movie so awesome. But no, it was just another Jurassic World dud, and it was arguably even worse than Fallen Kingdom. Yeah. So, unfortunately, number 2 is Jurassic World Dominion, and another reason it's in this list is because I was really anticipating this film, mainly for the setup from the end of Fallen Kingdom. But unfortunately, it's number 2 here. Number 1, though, is going to be a surprise to some, because I know a lot of people like this movie, but it just done nothing for me whatsoever, and that is Jordan Peele's Nope. After making 2 solid films in Get Out and Us, I thought this looked so intriguing. It looked right up my street. Looked like it was going to do something with UFOs and stuff. And after seeing the trailers on this farmhouse, I love the location, and Daniel Kaluuya in there, who's a great actor, I thought this film can't really fail. Jordan Peele's had 2 solid movies out there. 3rd attempt, I'm sure he's going to knock it out the park again. But no, this film just kind of fell into the same category as Death on a Nile for me, and being very, very dull and boring, and it wasn't well paced at all. It took so long to get where it was going to go to, and the payoff towards the end just done nothing for me. Look, I don't think this is a bad film or anything. It's one I definitely want to rewatch to be sure about what I'm saying here, because how can so many people like this film? But I just remember in the cinema watching it going, what is this? It's just, I couldn't wait for it to end in a way. There's a side story with this chimp who kind of went on a murder spree and stuff, and I don't, look, Jordan Peele is probably sending some messages out there and all that intertwined with the movie story and stuff, but I was just like, what was the point in that? And maybe I'm just too dumb to see that, but yeah, I was just like, no, there's just no point in this. So for me, Jordan Peele's weakest film, and Daniel Kaluuya just absolutely played one of the worst characters he's ever played for me. I know a lot of people think he put a good performance in here, but there was just nothing to him at all, in my opinion. So yeah, I will give it a rewatch though, to be sure. But on this first viewing, I just got nothing from Nope. So number one is Nope. Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this top 5 most surprising and top 5 most disappointing movie list. What are your disappointments and surprises of the year? I know everyone is different. It's just my list. You know, it doesn't mean anything. It's just my opinion. This is the way I seen them films this year, and I'm just being honest with you. I'm not going to cater to any audiences or anything. I'm just going to give you my honest thoughts here. So leave it in the comments down below. I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. Take it all easy, guys. I'll see you all next video.